welcome back to the Connections podcast. I'm Simon Marion, and today I have the massive pleasure of speaking to Chief Inspector Mark Mangnall of Greater Manchester Police. He is a British military veteran and is now leading the charge in the pilot project for the Forcer Protocol, which is a veteran suicide intervention prevention program working in conjunction with Safe and Found Online. So Mark, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
It was it was good to meet you in London in November at the pre-launch. That was quite an interesting, quite an emotional little morning session actually.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, we managed to get the message across to Parliament, haven't we? To the local MPs, yes. Johnny Mercer, etc. So that was just before we went live on the 11th of November, and we're making a lot of progress since. We're supporting a lot of people since that go live. So, and actually, what shocked me really along this journey is we didn't know in Greater Manchester Police how many veterans we had go missing because we never asked people. So now part of that process is we now ask people whether they're a veteran when they're reported missing to us here at Greater Manchester. So we've identified now 39 people. So since the last time I spoke about this, which was literally last week, that's gone up by 4 people in less than a week. So we are getting the volume of people going missing that are veterans, and now we're able to find these people and be able to put the support in place that those veterans need. And I think once this becomes more of a national protocol, I think the actual demand of veterans going missing will surprise a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I think it's definitely come more to public knowledge over the last 4 or 5 years, but still not to the full extent. Hearing that, I mean, that's music to my ears. That's my area of focus is stress, trauma, and suicide. Which is why I had a very, very tiny involvement in it through Claire Lilly, amazing lady.
Absolutely.
So would you mind giving kind of a bit of a background of your background and how you've come to be leading this pilot?
Yeah, so I initially when I left school, I joined the army. So I was in the King's Own Royal Borders when I left school, and I served there until 2006. And I joined the police not that long after, really. I was a PCSO at Lancashire Police, and then I moved across to Greater Manchester in 2008.
Okay.
And I became I've always been supporting veterans within the sort of workplace as part of the Armed Forces Covenant. But more recently, I became the Force Deputy Tactical Lead for the Armed Forces Covenant. And just over 12 months ago, I got an email off Claire Lilly. And she wanted help on how to sort of design and implement a missing from home strategy, really, in relation to veterans and how we better support people when they go missing. So that's when the journey sort of started. As soon as I heard Claire's story, Alan's story about how he went missing and tragically took his own life, that sort of inspired me to get involved and work through a process of ensuring that we had a system in place that does help people. So Claire and I, and Safe and Found Online, the MPCC, Opnova, Thames Valley Police, and lots of other people have worked together for 12 months, looking at different ways of working. And Safe and Found Online identified the Herbert Protocol. So every force in the UK currently uses the Herbert Protocol. That's for people with dementia. And we thought, well, don't reinvent the wheel. Why don't we use a similar process that is similar to the Herbert Protocol? So the Herbert Protocol, family members will upload information onto Safe and Found Online about that person. And then when that person is reported missing, that's when the police can then have access to it to better formulate a risk assessment and be able to find that missing person.
Yeah.
But what is unique about the Forcer Protocol, which the Herbert Protocol doesn't have, is that there's the veterans pathway at the end. So when we do find that person, we make sure that they're safe and well and provide any initial support they need, but also there's a long-term support process through OpNova to be able to put help in place to ensure that they're getting that support and their families getting that support. And the whole point of that is to sort of try and reduce that demand, really, reduce those people going missing, and hopefully allow them to get on with their lives, really. You know, they've obviously seen quite traumatic things while they're serving, and it's about identifying that and making sure that we help them along that path, so they can, when they're back in civilian street, they can then enjoy their lives.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's no doubt as to why this is so important to you. But, you know, the police is, as you are a veteran, you know, the police and all the other services are filled with veterans. So having this, it's almost like a full circle, I guess, isn't it? It's then veterans helping veterans in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's really important for veterans to help veterans, because you can empathise with what they're going through. You understand where they've been and what they've done, and I think it get more veteran support if you've got veterans leading the way on that, because you know, it's a very close-knit community, the veteran community, and I think there has to be a trust element. And I know there's, you know, historically there's potentially barriers between policing and veterans because of numerous reasons, you know, whether they're in the judicial system, etc.
Yeah.
And I don't think there needs to be those barriers, because this protocol isn't about prosecuting people. It's about finding vulnerable people and then putting that support in place to ensure that they can then find employment, you know, get assistance with money, etc. It's not just about mental health. It's about day-to-day struggles that people have that may lead to more serious mental health, you know, trigger PTSD, etc. So that's what the protocol is about. It's about trying to reduce those veteran suicides. You know, we currently lose one veteran a week to suicide in the UK, and that's unacceptable. And we've got to be in a position where that support is in place, and we're able to find people quicker to get that support in.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And this is a step forwards. This is the Force of Protocol is a massive step forwards in doing that, and the uptake and the rate of success so far with this pilot is quite phenomenal, actually.
Yeah, it surprised me. You know, I wanted to work on it because of Alan's story, but it's really surprised me. The numbers have really surprised me on how many missions we have within Greater Manchester. You know, we're on the 15th of January now, so we've been going just over 2 months. We've had 39 people that have identified as veterans. I mean, that's a lot of people. You know, you put them people in a room, that's a lot. That's entire families of people going missing. So
yeah,
you know, and then we've been able to put that support in place.
Yeah, I mean, it's 39. So one veteran, kind of, you know, is takes their own life a week, and you've 39 have been in 2 months have been supported and potentially saved from taking that final action. That's really upping the ante. So yeah,
it's massive, isn't it? Yeah, and I think we're only on a small sort of database scale there, data scale, because I think once this is rolled out nationally, I mean, GM is a place where veterans will settle because of you know, big city, big employment. You know, that's where people do settle. But there's lots of other places across the UK.
Yeah.
You know, areas of Yorkshire, Hampshire, etc., that have big, you know, big garrison barracks. You know, Catterick up at Yorkshire and Harrogate. And other areas in the country where people will settle because they've bought a house there because they were serving there, and they've decided when they retire they'll just stay where they are. So there is areas where I think the veteran community is probably more densely populated than it is in Manchester, and I think it will really surprise us how many missing people we'll actually have annually, nationally.
Yeah, it's probably going to be quite a disturbing number, to be quite honest. but capturing that is good data in itself, isn't it? So in terms of how to keep this moving forward.
Yeah, and it's not just about the data, is it? Because it's 39 people, isn't it? It's not 39. It's 39 individuals who have got 8, 10 family members that are affected by them going missing. It's massive. You're talking about hundreds of people, aren't you, that are affected by people going missing every day.
Yes.
And then once that support's in place, it's about improving the life of all those people, isn't it? It's not just about the veteran, is it? It's about those family circumstances and those family environments, about the kids, about the partners. That's what it's about. It's about making sure that they're all getting that support that they need.
Yes.
And it's difficult times, isn't it? You see on the news a lot, don't you, about different economic issues, don't you, in relation to people being able to finance their lives, and that some of that will sort of reinvigorate PTSD and cause domestic issues, and that's where Opnova comes in, because Opnova is not just that one stop; it is that one-stop shop where they can get help for all elements of their life.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And that needs to be, that as well needs to spread across the other home nations, because there's a big disparity in that, unfortunately. How do you think that your time in the military, how did that influence your kind of, I guess, your approach to being in the police, and how has that influenced how the way you lead this pilot project with the Force Protocol?
Well, I joined the army at 16, so I actually started at Harrogate, which is their sort of junior leadership program. And I think the army has set me up for life, really, because it's been able to sort of direct me in where I want to go. So also I'm in the police now, and it's all about discipline. I think in the police is about discipline, and us in Greater Manchester, we're very much more about discipline now, and about officers looking right and turning out right, and making sure that we provide that service to the public. And I think that the Army's allowed me to do that, because it becomes instilled, it becomes a part of your life. Getting up early, being on time, being 5 minutes before, and then becoming 10 minutes before, because being 5 minutes before is still late. And it becomes instilled in you that, and I've brought that with me within policing, because I turn up on time every single day, and I do the job, and I try and drive things forward like you do in the military, in the army. Everything you do, you're doing it well, and you're trying to push projects forward, or push whatever operation you're on, making sure it works. But also having a plan B, isn't it? Because nothing ever goes right, does it?
No.
With the first contact with the enemy, nothing goes right. So you've got to have a plan B, and we're constantly working on the Force Protocol. This is a pilot, so if there's slight tweaks that we have to make, then that's what we'll do. We'll make them, and we'll make sure it works, and make sure that people are getting that help. Yeah.
Yes. Good. Yeah. I mean, it's if only things went to plan.
And they don't, do they?
Never.
Things change, don't they? So, just for example, our Force Operations Centre was dealing with safe and found online. So when that call comes into the police, the log is then switched to our FOC, the Force Operations Centre, and they're the ones that check safe and found online. But actually, we've been in conversations with our Force Contact Centre and worked out that's probably not the best or most efficient way of doing it. So we've recently changed our process. We've changed it to our integrated management system now. So they're the people that, once a log comes in, they're the ones that create the missing report. So we felt that they're in the best position to be able to check safe and found online. So I've been in conversation with a guy called Lee Parker and Kev Burgess, who are both senior supervisors within the FCCO, and we've come up with a different plan. We've come up with Plan B. Yeah. Because we want to try and make things more efficient, to be able to provide that blueprint to the NPCC when we're ready to be rolled out nationally.
Fantastic. There we go. So yeah, improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So what, in terms of obviously there's a lot of people involved in getting this even just across the start line.
Absolutely.
So what have been the really positive connections you've had and support networks to get this going and to keep it moving? What have been the most kind of instrumental in that?
Well, Claire Lilly's been the absolute backbone of this.
Yeah.
So she has really inspired everybody to pull together and get this across the line. I mean, the collaboration that we've had hasn't been that difficult because everybody's so passionate about helping veterans. You know, Safe and Found Online, the NPCC, Thames Valley, Opnova, everybody that's been involved haven't come to meetings presenting barriers. They've come to meetings with ideas of how to make improvements and get it to where it needs to be. You know, I've had a lot of help within GMP by Jim Jones and Jeff Hurst and John Barnes, who are all part of my team in relation to the Forza protocol. And none of them present barriers to me at any point. They come to me with new ideas and how we make improvements, and I do the same to them. So that collaboration hasn't been particularly difficult, but it has been really inspiring about how all these different sort of communities and businesses and you know, local authorities, etc., come together to support each other and in the main supporting veterans. You know,
that I think that's kind of breath of fresh air, really, isn't it? Because quite often there's always, well, there tends to be at least one naysayer and doom prophesier and hurdle creator. But to hear that this is not happening, that's...
No, you can find that in any area of business, couldn't you? Where people say, well, that's not really our responsibility. This is not, you know, this area is not nothing to do with us. But actually, it's not been like that at all. It's about every element of this process is our responsibility. It's our responsibility together to get it over the line and make this work. And it will work because we'll make it work between us. You know, we'll make sure that if there's communication issues within our own organisations to get things rolling on, then we'll make sure that the communication is supplied to staff to make sure they understand what they're doing. It's the same when it becomes a national rollout. You know, we'll be having discussions with this just last week about how we get that moving along and how we will interact with other forces to explain what we've done here in Greater Manchester and how they can adapt. Because obviously every police force in the country is different. So they may not have an IMU, they may not have a force operations centre. They may all just go through call handling, for example. So it's just working out what they have and how this process fits into their business model.
Yeah, and again, that's the adaptability is crucial, isn't it, to get it across the entirety of Britain.
Yeah, you know, and this is where this process is going to be unbelievably successful because none of this is rocket science. Do you know what I mean? We're not asking a lot of people. It's quite a simple, straightforward process that allows us to identify more information when someone's reported missing, to then put support in place when they're found, and that isn't difficult. You know, and that's why every force in the country, you know, they don't need fancy units, they don't need all sorts of different types of people working in different departments. They need a call handler and they need a password to Safe and Found Online. That's what they need. And then that information can be then passed to the front line to inspectors and sergeants who can then make the risk assessment and put resources into the right location to find people. So it's a really straightforward process. You know, we've introduced QR codes within GMP for Opnova, and I think that can be rolled out nationally for the referral form. So literally officers all have to do is walk to a poster, which is all around the police stations, all across the force, scan the QR code and the referral's there. It takes 2 minutes to fill in, and then they can move on to their next incident. And I think that's why this process will work, because it's simple and straightforward.
Yeah, it's always the same, isn't it? The more complicated, the less people are inclined to use it.
And that was one of
to muck it up.
Yeah, that was one of my driving points, really, and that was what I sort of had to try and come across in the meetings and with Claire, you know, to say we've got to have a single veterans pathway. There's lots of different charities doing lots of different work, and they're all doing really good work. But it's about that single pathway, because officers don't have time to consider their options and think, actually, well, this is homelessness or this is mental health. Who do I refer it to? It has to be that one referral to one charity, one organisation, where they can then disseminate that to where it needs to sit. It's not for officers to decide where that needs to sit. It's just that single pathway. You know, we have 35,000 incidents a week in Greater Manchester.
Jeez.
And you know, there's a lot of officers putting a lot of hard work on the streets, getting to those incidents, making sure we get to our grade 1s and grade 2s in time. So it's not just about that missing veteran. It's about how we can best find them to reduce officer time, and also how we support them. And then the officer can then move on to the next incident and whatever else is coming in. You know, whether that is another missing veteran or whether it's another type of incident. But it's about making that process really, really simple for people.
Yes, yeah, it's essential. Simple works. It's just that's never changed and never will.
No, exactly. Yeah.
No, it's yeah. How the Force Protocol is kind of influencing the culture within Greater Manchester Police and potentially other police forces? What impact do you think it's going to have?
So so the Force Protocol is sort of bringing veterans to the front of people's minds, really. I mean, we do a lot of work in Greater Manchester anyway. You know, work with Jim Jones, who's our force lead for the Armed Forces Covenant, and Chris Sykes, who's our strategic lead. Yeah. So we do a lot. We put a lot of support in place anyway for people within inside the organisation who are veterans. Yes. And also people within the community. You know, we do the most up and over referrals in the UK. We have some of the top reservists who are in the Northwest. So you know, we're supporting our staff as well as the community. But I think with the Force Protocol, again, it brings it to that forefront of your mind about the risk around veterans, because people may think a veteran, you know, is an older guy or lady who goes to the cenotaph once a year, but they're not. These people, whether they've served a day in the army or whether they've served 25 years, you know, they're a veteran and they need support throughout their lives, and sort of allowing officers then to get that understanding of how we're better to support these people and support vulnerable people within our communities, which is really important to us at Greater Manchester Police. Yeah,
it's a kind of been a forgotten community for a long time in many respects, and having worked in the charitable sector within mental health for veterans for quite some time, it's I've seen how that's started to change. Yeah, and this, without a shadow of a doubt, is going to make a huge difference. It's one of the most, I think it's one of the most impactful kind of projects, if you like, to kind of, can't think of the right word, but you know what I mean, of this type, to actually do something really positive and constructive for veterans.
Yeah. I mean, we've been involved in a lot of conflict, haven't we? In the Army, etc., Navy, RAF over the last 10, 15 years. So, you know, PTSD is not going to be something that just appears automatically. It might be something that's delayed over 10 years or more. So, you know, and it might depend on that people being able to hide their issues well, but then when the cup becomes full with other issues, other domestic issues, that's when things start to tip over, isn't it? So, that's why the Force Protocol is so important, because there's so many people who now at the moment may think their lives are quite stable and they're willing to upload their information onto Safe Offend Online, but then in months, years to come, they get in a situation where the PTSD takes over, and they're not, and you know, they're at a low point in their life, but the Force Protocol will help us be able to find those people and then put that support in place for them.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's whether it's you know, a long-term thing, whether it's spontaneous, whether it's PTSD or depression or just any kind of overwhelm of stress, can lead people to get to that point of making that decision. And it can happen really quick, which is why families often don't have a clue that it's even been there.
No.
Which is it's a scary thing for families, for definite.
Yeah, it's about understanding the signs, isn't it? I think there needs to be more literature, more documentation in relation to the signs of depression and PTSD, because, you know, there is opportunities to identify it earlier, isn't there? You know, if you've got a family member that suddenly goes quiet, they're quite a bubbly person, and they suddenly go quiet, or they start to reduce hours at work, etc. That, you know, that there might be the signs that normally you would ignore, but actually you need to probably latch onto those signs and you know, and make that referral, or get them to see their GP, etc.
Yes. Yeah. So, in amongst all that, have you got any kind of personal stories or insights into that highlight the importance of this and the value that it brings?
Yeah, so I've been in contact with a guy called Owen Dykes recently. Owen went missing actually before the force protocol came in.
Okay.
Owen was at a point in his life where he was contemplating taking his own life. I don't think he was getting the support in place. In fact, Owen's going to speak at our event. We're running a launch event on the 6th of February in Greater Manchester, like a community launch event for the Force of Protocol. And Owen's going to speak there, but he'll be talking about how, if the Force of Protocol was in place when he went missing, and how he'd have got the support a lot quicker, it probably would have moved him on along within his life a lot quicker. He sort of spent a long time at a low point, a long time contemplating taking his own life and going missing. But with the Force of Protocol, if that had been in place at the time, we'd have been able to find Owen, refer him to Opnova, and he'd have then been getting the help he needed. But I think there was a delay in that. I'm saying he got the help eventually, but sometimes time is of the essence, isn't it? We've got to help people quickly.
Yes.
You know, people can't be waiting 6-12 months to get that help. They've got to be seen, you know, within a week, really, I'd suggest, if not quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. It's without a shadow of a doubt the single biggest thing that has to change within the mental health service is speed of access to treatment.
Yeah, I agree, and that was one of my sort of concerns when we were launching the Force of Protocol. Spoke with Opnova and said, like, how quickly can you contact people? And they currently contacted people in Greater Manchester within 24 hours. So as soon as that referral goes in, within 24 hours, they're on the phone to them, personal conversation on that phone. And that makes a difference, because I don't want to be going to someone on a bridge or contemplating suicide and promising them that Opnova will make contact, and then nobody make contact, because that damages the barriers, then that damages the relationship between us and the police.
Massively.
So that was really important for me that Opnova were able to make that contact really, really quickly, because when they're at that crisis point, and they need that help now, don't they? Not in 6 months.
Yeah, you can't hang about. This is why a part of the reason why people are being lost to suicide is because that first step isn't there in terms of accessing treatment.
So what we're doing now is, it's not just about the Force Protocol, because this is sort of brought up the issue. So we're looking at and encouraging officers to do Opnova referrals whenever they come in contact with a veteran. So if someone's homeless, etc., then, you know, make that referral. Let's not wait for people to go missing. Let's do the referral now. Let's get the people the help they need, and hopefully we'll reduce people going missing and reduce suicide overall by just providing that regular support instead of just when people are reporting missing.
Yeah, no, fantastic. It's the way ahead. It's multifaceted, isn't it? There's, you know, and you've got to cover as many angles as possible.
Yeah.
So you're 2 months into the pilot, and it's a 6-month pilot.
Yeah.
What are your aspirations for the pilot, and to kind of leap ahead? Where do you kind of see it in 12 months?
Yeah, so we've been invited back to Parliament 12 months from November last year.
Yeah.
And my aspirations for that really is I'm not going to suggest it's going to be a national system by then, where every police force in the country have got the system. But I had a conversation with Safe and Found Online on Friday, and we sort of said if we can get 10 other forces to sign up to the Force of Protocol before we go back to Parliament, then we've covered 25% of the UK there, haven't we? And we're sort of looking at whether we concentrate on sort of a northwest hub, so it'd be like Lancashire, Cumbria, Merseyside, Cheshire, and then sort of go east towards Yorkshire, and then work our way down. And then we've sort of, if we can get Scotland involved in that as well, then we've sort of locked down that the north of the UK. And the way I sort of said it is we'll continue that march down. Then we'll have secured the north, and we'll start heading south of it. So in a military way, we've secured that. We've secured that area. Let's regroup and move south. So and I think that'd be my aim really, to try and get sort of 10-12 forces on board by November. Obviously that's also down to the NPCC as well, and their thoughts on that, and the National Missing Lead. So but that'd be my plan moving forward. And obviously us at Greater Manchester Police, we want to be involved in that national rollout, because there's a lot of hard work gone into getting it to where it is. So and I think because we've sort of lived and breathed it, or we will have done for the 6 months, then it'll be easier for other forces to adopt.
Yeah, I mean, even from at this stage, because it's taken a long, actually it's not that long a period of time in the grand scheme of things to get it off the ground.
It's really
quick.
Yeah, really quick, really. Yeah. I mean, most projects going through design implementation stages usually take, I'd say, a good 18 months, 2 years, really, to get them from ground zero up. But we've taken this with 12 months. 12 months time, and we've managed to get it to where it is. So I think we're on 14 months in now, and we're live, aren't we? Which is quite unusual, really.
Yeah, it's massively impressive. Yeah, I mean, it's I was quite taken aback when I found out how the short time span and what you've achieved, and what you've achieved in the 2 months since it's been live is phenomenal. Really is. It's not something you see very often. I think this is kind of really is like the poster boy for having a common vision, mission, and passion.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it's not just about us at Greater Manchester. It's got to where it is within 12 months because of the passion of everybody involved.
Absolutely.
Everybody along the way hasn't created barriers, hasn't said this won't work, has thought of ways to make it work. And Claire has been the centre of that, really. She's just inspired and driven everybody forward to get to where we are. Me and Claire still talk every single day. She wants to know the progress and how we're getting on, and just a general chit chat, really. It's not, sometimes it's not even work related, we just have a bit of a talk through, because we've all become friends, really, more than colleagues, so.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she is quite some lady, massively driven. And it's to have somebody kickstart something like this and be part of it all the way through. I think it's just it's going to work wonders. Absolutely. I can't see this not being a success, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, and she won't let me relax anyway. If I started to take the pressure off now, she'd be on to me straight away. So, and that's not something we're going to do. But I'm saying that Claire's there. She's pushing us along. So. Yeah,
it's good. I'm hoping to chat to her at some point in the next couple of months. So that'd be a fun conversation as well, I think, Claire. She's such a lovely lady.
Yeah, she is, and all she cares about is support of veterans and reducing suicide numbers. That's all she cares about. That's all she talks about. So yeah, she's an inspiration.
Yeah, very definitely. So from what you've gathered so far, what advice have you got at this moment that you would pass on to other forces that are going to take this on at some point, whenever that happens? And, what advice can you give straight away in them helping them to implement it?
Well, I'd say, first of all, become a member of the Armed Forces Covenant. If they're not a member of the Armed Forces Covenant, then they need to be, because there's such a massive support network in place. But once they become a member, and we're gold award winners in Manchester, which is the highest you can get at the moment, unless they want to introduce a new one, which we'll happily try and achieve a new level. But so if they're not a member of the Armed Forces Covenant, then please become one. Speak to me or Jim Jones in Greater Manchester, and we'll tell you exactly how you can become a member, and get that support network going. The support network across the 43 forces is massive in relation to veterans, but we need everybody on board with that. We need every force in the country to achieve that level and achieve at least bronze award in the Armed Forces Covenant, because it's all about the way you get the awards of the Armed Forces Covenant is about supporting different organisations with their award levels, bronze, silver and gold. So that's all about the collaboration that we need to be able to get the Force protocol nationally. I mean, we can bring that in anyway, but if we've got veterans supporting veterans within each force, that obviously supports us and helps us along the way, doesn't it?
Massively.
But what I would say is, if any force in the country now doesn't ask people, whether they're a veteran when they're reported missing, then I think they need to start doing that. I think they need to get on board with that and start working out what their demand is really, because we didn't understand our demand in relation to veterans in Greater Manchester. We didn't, we do now, because now we're getting regular data on how many people are going missing and what the risk is around those people. And I think that's the start process for the Force protocol, is understanding what your demand is, and if you've got significant issues, and I can guarantee other areas of the country will have significant issues with veterans will be missing. So if they want to contact me, there's quite a few forces have contacted me recently. I've got a meeting on Friday with Hampshire, South Yorkshire contacted me today. I had a conversation with Northumbria last week. So, they're all really keen to take on the Force protocol already. We're not even halfway through the pilot stage, but people are already saying we want this now, because we want to be able to understand our veterans communities. And me, Jim and Jeff are going to support people through that, So as soon as we get the go ahead to start rolling this out, then we'll be there with any force in the country to explain how we did it and what to avoid.
Yeah, well, there's always going to be teething problems.
Of course there is. Yeah, it's plan. It's no plan ever works. You can make the most defined plan ever, can't you? But there's always human elements, and there's always other aspects that you have to consider. A plan on paper works, doesn't it? But when you introduce personalities and people into that process, then you have to make tweaks, and that's fine. That's what policing's about. We make tweaks every single day. We change things. We identify new risks, and we make changes. That's what we do. We adapt and overcome, like you said before. Yeah,
it is. Adaptability and flexibility is crucial for life, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and you have to do that in any element of life, don't you? If things change, if your gas and electric bill goes up, you need to reduce other outgoings, don't you? So it's just adapting to what's happening in your life, and that's what the Force protocol is. We will introduce it in every force in the country, but it's just adapting it to suit how their model works, how their current call centres work, etc. But it's not a big change, and we can explain in simple terms how it works, and then they can identify the best place for it to sit.
Yeah, excellent stuff. So last piece, what message do you want to leave the audience about the power of connections in initiating and pushing forwards something as important, even lesser, but just something as important as this initiative for the Porter Protocol? What message and what advice would you give them?
So for police officers, I give the advice that if they come in contact with any veteran, think about where they've been and what they've done, and look at providing that support. Make sure you do an up-and-over referral wherever you are in the UK. Up-and-over is national. So wherever you are in the UK, whether they're in custody or they're on the street or they're having issues with domestic violence incidents, and make a referral, because you don't know the change that will make to people's lives. And that's so important. Having that connection with that veteran and making sure they get the help, will reduce demand massively on policing across the UK. But I'd also say to the public as well, if you are concerned for a veteran, or you're concerned for anybody that has that armed forces connection, please notice the signs, notice that change in people, get those people to a GP, or get an up-and-over referral completed, and make sure that you upload their information to Safe and Found Online. Because if that person they might not go missing today, they might not go missing tomorrow, but in 6 months' time they go missing. If we have that information on Safe and Found Online, then we'll be able to find your loved one a lot quicker. It's not about us accessing information to be able to prosecute people for other offences. The Force Protocol has nothing to do with that at all. It's about having information available for when someone goes missing. And it's that key information, so we understand the risk around your loved one. So if you're under any doubt, then please just upload that information. You can upload it and then change your mind at a later date, but please upload it now, and then we can potentially save your loved one's life potentially.
Excellent. Well, we'll put all the links that people need, and so that it'll get out there to some more people, and I will do my best to get people to share all this information as far and wide as possible, because it's invaluable, and it is, it's already saving lives. So don't need more evidence than that.
No, exactly. No, we are saving lives. We'll never be able to say that out of those 39, how many people's lives we've saved. We'll never be able to say that, because data doesn't provide that information, does it? But that doesn't really matter, does it? At the end of the day, we've found those 39 people safe and well. We put the support in place they need, and if it has saved life, then even better. And if it hasn't, we don't know that information, then that's fine. We've still managed to put support in place for people. So, and I think once it becomes national, and we start to see potentially over 1,000 people missing a month, if not more.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a lot of people. That's a heck of a lot of people that are going missing. And if all those people can get support to help them in their normal daily lives, then job's done, isn't it? And even if we just save one life, just one out of every missing, then we've done what we should be doing.
Yes. Yeah. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. Any final thoughts?
Just please support the Force Protocol. Please support Safe and Found Online. They're a great resource. Upload that information, and please look after yourselves.
Absolutely, and you too. Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate you taking the time today. I know you're an extremely busy man, so it's massively appreciated.
I'm busier than I was.
Excellent.
No, thank you for your time today. That's great.
Pleasure. Thanks, Mark.